The first clip, though, is just 40 seconds long, and we chose this one because this is the very first intro that Adam ever did for the show, and this was back when we didn't have music or anything. It was just silence, and then Adam said hi. So I wish I had like some kind of time travel music, but I don't have that. So I'm just going to go ahead and play the clip.
Hello and welcome to the first ever Fireside podcast, Fireside Chat of the Hunger Games. We have a great assembly of people here from the top fan sites on the web. My name is Adam Spunberg. I'll be hosting alongside Savanna. Savanna New is also a writer for Pictainment.com. And we've assembled this group here today to talk about some big news in Hunger Games, as well as just to have a really great time, crazy arena-style discussion with way too many people on a bunch of phones. But it's going to be wonderful. So we thank you all for listening. And Savanna, do you want to introduce everyone else who's here?
Well, not a lot has changed, apparently.
Still way too many people on a lot of phones.
And still introduce, I think I say pretty much the same thing now, more or less. And I always tell Savanna to introduce everyone in exactly the same way.
And my call got dropped, or my Skype in call got dropped, so I apologize. I've just returned. Did I miss anything other than the intro clip?
You missed us, basically me making fun of myself for always saying the same thing, even now, a year later.
Yeah.
I didn't say it was going to be a special show, though, I don't think, in there.
No, I don't think so.
Yet.
Wow. Okay, so that was our very first intro. We have two more clips. One of the clips is us talking with... Actually, let's do this one first. We have one clip of us on the very... Okay, actually, you know what? Let's talk about what we did on the first show. Do you even remember, Adam?
I think we... okay, well, first of all, from my recollection, we had a couple of guests. We had Jenny Duke from Australia, I remember. We had Megan V., who at that time had designed the Pan Am map, which I still see that same map going around everywhere.
Yeah. Where
a lot of people are looking at it for the first time. We also, who else did we have? Didn't we have?
Well, we had
a couple
on,
other.
Here we had on Lee and Pauline from The Hob, Theresa from Down with the Capitol, Kate from Hunger Games Trilogy fan site was on. I believe that Tan V from Hunger Games Network came on. I'm not sure.
No, I think that was the second episode.
From India.
Oh,
okay.
And
then, as far as guests go, we had on Megan V, who created that killer map. And what's funny is now we're such good friends with them. It's interesting to look back because this was one of the first times we had ever spoken to them. And we also had on your friend Jenny Duke, who is an Australian literary critic, and she's a fan of the Hunger Games as well. So that was an interesting assortment of people.
Yeah, I think we need to get Jenny Duke back on again.
Yeah, she's
been more than enough time, a whole year.
Super eloquent. Yeah. So we have a short clip of us talking to Meg and V about their map.
So let's talk about your map a little bit here.
Okay.
So maybe you want to. Where was the inspiration for this? What made you decide to go for that?
Well, we would just like to give a disclaimer that we weren't out to make the next awesome map of Panem. This is really a personal kind of project. We kind of had this weird idea about maybe how the districts were laid out, and we kind of just decided to just do it ourselves and see if it would actually work. I know I had no idea that V would even be posting it. It was more of this is kind of interesting. I'm going to Google some things, and she's going to lay it out in her Photoshop and see if it matches up, and we kind of liked the way it ended up, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah. We were actually joking. We were just going to come on the show and say, it was born of Friday night at 3 in the morning, hopped up on sugar, and loving Finnick O'Dare. So that's really where it came from, was wanting to picture him in District 4. So, yeah.
Yeah, I saw that you guys actually set aside a special island for Finnick and Annie.
That was honestly just because we were like, Nick and Annie are the cutest thing that's ever existed. Let's let them live somewhere cute with Mags, and yeah, that's how that happened.
So there you have it. That was our very first ever interview. Hopefully they are listening to this right now, and maybe they can laugh at themselves. But that was fun, and their map continues to be amazing. And that's actually kind of relevant because soon, we will hopefully be getting the first official map of Pan Am in the Hunger Games Adventures game, so we can see how it compares to Meg and V's map.
And the funniest thing I remember about that interview is that I couldn't for the life of me tell who was Meg and who was V the whole time.
Yeah, I couldn't
and
either.
And
looking back, it seems silly because we've talked to V and Meg so many times. I recognize their voices clearly now, but back then I was like, who's who?
I know, and I was trying not to make it seem like I couldn't tell. So I was being very careful not to mention anyone specifically by name or kind of refer to both of them in every situation. So, but Theresa, is Theresa the only one on right now who was on that show from our current?
Yep.
Oh my God.
Was I not on the first episode? I kind of remember a first episode, but
you were not.
not.
You were not. I think you might have come on the second episode.
Okay.
I think that's right. Because you had some kind of commitment that night that you couldn't make
Probably
it for the first one. Right, I think it was that. And I know our friend Shylah over here at that time was just starting a site, ShylaHGotReaped.blogspot.com.
Yeah.
It was before I started with Down with the Capital, and just to for full disclosure, that was one of the most exciting things was when I got hired. Theresa and Ariel told me that I got to go on rotation in the Fireside Chat, and it made my life because I felt so famous, and I still do.
Well, you are. And
well, now you're like the Nightline star.
On Nightline,
you wrote you wrote the Finnick and Annie series. The tables have turned, I'm afraid. We're lucky to be in the same podcast as the great Shylah Dante.
I know.
LOL.
So our last clip, I think everyone will really enjoy. We talked that this episode, or the first episode, took place very shortly after Jennifer, Josh, and Liam were cast. So we talked a lot about them, and I believe in this clip we are specifically talking about Liam, but we might talk a little bit about Josh as well. I'm not 100% certain what this clip contains, but we're talking about Liam's casting definitely, and I think you will hear me and Adam. You might hear Theresa. I think Kate from HungerGamesTrilogy.net is in there, and maybe Lee and Pauline from The Hob. I guess we'll find out when we listen to it. So here are our reactions to the Liam, Josh, Jennifer casting on April 4th, 2011.
Like Kate, we don't know a whole lot about Liam, so we're still not sure. We're kind of holding our judgment on him, but if Gary thinks that he can handle the role, then we'll support him 100%. So we're just happy that we're past the casting on this, and we can move on, to Hamish and Cinna and all that. So we're happy just to get over this hump now.
No, that's wonderful. It's funny about Josh Hutcherson because, which Pauline can tell you, when Savanna and I did a feature with The Hob, and we were discussing PETA, Josh Hutcherson, I actually brought him up without really thinking he'd be in contention because he was sort of a real dark horse at that time.
Yeah.
But I knew he had such an impressive resume of acting. I mean, we're talking about a guy here, he's been the son of two lesbians in The Kids Are All Right. He's been to the center of the earth. He was a kid in Little Manhattan. He's done a lot. He's really gotten around. So I think he might be able to handle himself in the arena and bake some pretty nice cakes too. So I'm feeling
cookies too.
Feeling pretty good.
And cake balls and French apple pie. Some of that, by the way, was me talking over that clip, by the way. But that's so funny to listen back. I love how Theresa's well, I'll put my faith in Gary. We don't really know anything about Liam, but I'm just glad that we have these three casts. And now, like, the movie's out. The movie is playing in theaters right now.